We're dedicating this shir in the honor of the elevation of the soul of Ilui Nishmas Yaakov ben Moshe. May his soul have a aliyah, and may his soul be wrapped up in the pleasure of the Garden of Eden, the highest place in Shamayim. Amen.
Amen.
Zrat Hashem. So, we're going to be learning today about predictions for the coming days, as the Torah has been guiding us. And why is that important? Because the coming days is going to be a very, very long period of time, essentially going into eternity. And someone asked now for an analogy of eternity. So I'll just tell you one analogy that the Chavetz Chaim gave, just to give us a bit of a feel. You know, eternity is a long time. So you have to remember this analogy the rest of your life. So the Chavetz Chaim would say, imagine you had a pelican. Even the sight of a pelican already makes me smile. And the pelican swoops down and it goes on to a beach, and it takes a single grain of sand in its beak. You can imagine it, one little grain of sand in that big old beak. And it takes that grain of sand and it flies very, very far away to a faraway planet. And it deposits that single grain of sand on that planet. And it makes the return flight back to Earth to get another single grain of sand. And it makes the trip every 1 million years. And again, it takes another single grain of sand and transports it to that faraway place and deposits that single grain of sand. And then 1 million years later, it comes back and gets another grain of sand. Now, how long will it take that pelican to get all the grains of sand and all the beaches and all the deserts of the world?
Eternity.
Until you hear.
It will take an inconceivable amount of time. But in the end, will he finish it?
Yes.
Of course he will. In the end, he will get all the grains of sand, right? There's only a finite amount of grains of sand. It's going to take a long time. Yes, but he'll get it, right? When he does finish, eternity will not even have begun. So just get ready where we're all going. What are the things that will take you into eternity? The Torah and the mitzvahs. There's no simpler way to put it. That's called good investing. It's called being a good businessman. Invest in your long-term future. And Warren Buffett says, hold on to your investments for a long time. This is real long-term investing. Like unconceivably long. But we need to start thinking this way. So we're learning these predictions for the coming days ahead because we're at the end of this finite part of the story as we're getting ready to catapult into the eternal part of the story. So I want to just review a little bit from yesterday, just that we have it clear and on the tips of our tongue. We're learning a piece in the Gemara Sanhedrin, the predictions of these days right now, and it's so important to know this that we can prepare ourselves sufficiently. So we said yesterday, Tanya, Rabbi Nehorai Oimer Dorsh ben David ba boy Na'ar Yalbinu Pnei Zakenim. During those days, the children, the youth will embarrass the elders. And we mentioned yesterday, you guys think if you think that's happening now, but in the end of days, the youth, with Tzadi Vav, 3 lines up from the wide lines, against Tanya Reb Nehorai, 3 lines up from the wide lines. That the children will embarrass, Yalbinu. Yalbinu means make white in the face, because when you embarrass somebody, we said that it's better to jump into a burning furnace to embarrass somebody in public, because embarrassing somebody in public is like killing them. Because even though you think their face is red, really what happened is it turned white for a second as all the blood drained out. And that's why there's a moment of just whiteness. It was like killing them. So better to jump into a burning fire than to make their face go white. But in the end of days, the children will embarrass the Zakenim. Uzakenim yamdu b'lefnei na'arim. And the elders will get up in front of the children. We explained yesterday because they're going to be afraid of the children. They're going to be afraid the children or the younger generation is going to make fun of them. So the elders stand up in order to not get on their bad side. Because the young generation is going to be so vicious that the elders will kind of do anything to appease the young generation so they don't get upset at the elders, which is the opposite of the way that the world should be. In our world, the elders are everything. They're one step closer to that pristine source. Like I told you guys so many times before, that Yaakov Kamenetsky, the Gadol Ador, so there was someone that saw him that his child was being so considerate and so loving to his father. And he said, I don't know why, but my kids are so nasty to me, but your children are so nice to you. And he said, it's very simple, that my children understand that I'm one step closer to the revelation at Mount Sinai. So they look up to me as having something very pristine. But you believe that you came from monkeys. So your children think that you're one step closer to a baboon. And therefore they're evolving away. The further away they can get from you, the better off they are. So they don't respect you. They see you as one step closer to a chimpanzee. So as we're getting closer to the end, there's going to be more disrespect for the elders. It seems to be proliferating at unconceivable levels right now. Even in the last generation, I remember that we were so respectful to the elders. The elders were so important. And now it's like, people do, when someone important, even an older person walks into the room, you get up. Nowadays, someone important comes in. Yeah, what? Your grandparents are here. What? Yeah. I don't know what words those are. This seems to be like a new thing. The kids just say like, what? And whatever that means. Get up, that your mother and your grandparents are here. They're asking you to do something. Now we're too busy in our world. Ubas kama be'ima, and the daughters will get up to embarrass their mothers. The only reason they will get up is to do something embarrassing. They'll get up and you don't know me, you don't get me. The Kala b'chamoisa and the daughter-in-laws are going to be fighting with their mother-in-laws. And remember this one, Pnei hador k'pnei hakelev. And the face of the generation will look like the face of the dog. We gave 13 reasons for that, including our Dogecoin analysis, all the way to the moon. Ve'eina ben nisbayish be'aviv. Oh my goodness, this is so profound. And the son will not be embarrassed from his father. The kids usually have a healthy embarrassment, but they don't want to do something that would not be honorable in the eyes of their father. Their father should be this figure of status, of security in their life, of trust. Well, my father said something. That means something. Nowadays, there's big disintegration in that relationship, the father-son relationship. And I bless all of us to restore that us and our children, and us and our fathers, that we should be good children to our fathers, and we should be fathers that our children look up to as something noble, something real. Wow. One of the best ways to do that is always keep your word. Kids remember everything. If you tell your kid you're going to do something, I mean the littlest things. Make sure to do that. Make sure to do that. And I just put up a shelf in my kid's room, a little shelf, like by my son's bed, his bunk bed, just like a little shelf there. So I said I was going to do it. So by the end of the day, he was like, Tati, where's the shelf? He's like, and I caught my, no, I got the power drill out. You get that shelf in there. You have to be somebody that your kids really say, when you say things, you mean them and you follow through in them. And by the way, that's one of the ways that we develop trust, that when God says he'll do something, that we have an example that he will follow through. Because a parent who always keeps their word instills a belief in the child that when they say they're going to do something, they follow through with it. And then for them to know that when God says he's going to do something, that he's going to follow through, it makes it so much closer. The kids grow up knowing God says he's going to bring Mashiach. I know that that's true. I know that's true because people that I look up to follow through in their word. We should be able to do that, B'ezrat Hashem. Says the Gemara. Tanya Rabbi Nechemia, now get ready for this. Now we're dropping the bombs here. Tanya Rabbi Nechemia Oimer Dorsh ben David Balboy Ha'azus Tarbe. The generation that Ben David, that Mashiach is coming, brazenness will increase. Brazenness will increase. A person could be in a very important moment and he's just talking away. Somebody very important could be speaking and the guy's just on his phone. I think when the whole call waiting generation started, there was a certain amount of brazenness that just, you're on the very, sorry, hold on. Yeah, 1 second. Excuse me, I'm fine, okay. And then it's like this very long wait. Oh yeah, so I forgot about you. Yeah, where were we in the conversation? There's a certain amount of, like, I could put you on hold for as long as I want. Brazen means I do whatever I want on my turf, at my schedule, whatever I want. It doesn't really matter what's going on. I could be at a chuppah, a bride and groom are getting married. I'm just like, I'm just like looking on, what's going on in the news here. Tell you, really, you should be davening. Pray for this couple, right? I got my stuff going on. The couple will, even if you don't mean it, but there's a certain, because brazenness has become so commonplace. We say things. Brazenness will increase. And things that are honorable will become despised. People of honor, we described this yesterday. Kavod, remember this? Kavod. Kavod means honor, right? Honor is kavod. Honor comes from the same word as kaved, which means heavy, right? Honor is heavy. When someone has honor, their words are heavy. Their words mean something. That's real honor. When somebody actually takes somebody seriously, there's a heaviness to it. They have true honor. As opposed to fake honor, it's very light. The person thinks that on the outside they have honor, but they change their word every 2 seconds. Nobody takes them seriously. They do whatever the constituency says to do. Real honor is kaved. And by the way, the one, what's kaved also in Hebrew? Your liver. In our generation, we need big liver cleanses. Our livers have become so shtupped up, they become very, very sick. So we have problems with kavod because our kaved is messed up. The liver is a miraculous organ that regulates so many thousands of functions in the body. This is the time also, these summer months, liver cleanse. We'll have to schmooze about that another time. You get the liver going, and we're drinking so much alcohol. And I saw people, when I go to the States, I'm always surprised. I go to the wine store to get like a nice bottle of wine for Shabbos, and I see guys there, at the beer store, whatever. They have I don't know if they make them more than 24 packs nowadays. But they stack them up, and the guys are it's gonna be a good weekend. I'm like, really? That's for it's like a 3-day? No, 2 days, 2-day weekend. That many beers? Are you actually gonna put all those beers into this system? It's like, this is it's gonna make it'll be a light weekend this weekend. What's a heavy weekend look like? Our livers have become cesspools, and therefore everything about kavod and kaved is messed up. Things aren't heavy, things aren't real anymore. Things are just cheap and sick. We become sick. Get on to dandelions, dandelion juice. We'll give guys full protocols another time. But get on to cleansing the liver out. Do a liver cleanse, a very good thing to fix kavod and kaved.
Dandelions?
Yeah, dandelion greens. The greens and dandelion root, make a juice out of it. You can put it into a juicer, especially a slow-turning juicer. Take shots of dandelion juice. Very good right now. It's very bitter. By the way, all bitter things are good for the liver. Bitter, real green bitter things. How many bitter things do people have in their diet?
0.
Basically 0. How many bitter things do people used to have in their diet? Hamon, lots. It's the one thing that more than anything else, I think, is completely omitted from the diet. All the cleansing foods, all the liver tonics are bitter. Milk thistle, dandelion, it cleans the liver out. It's very good. Dandelion greens. And they grow. I mean, like actual dandelions, like the ones in your front lawn. Don't get the pesticided ones, like freshly pesticided. The ones that fresh, wild dandelions. And you know how to make more of them? Take a dandelion, just go, and those are the seeds, and you'll have a lot of dandelions, don't worry. Dandelions are excellent. Free, easy, cheap. Pull out the roots, juice it, put the greens in a salad, make sure to check them for bugs. This is real tonics for the liver. Nowadays, they thought everything doesn't have 5 different types of E's in it and 20 different spoons of sugar. I don't want to drink it. I can't drink it. I don't want to drink it. No, what about something bitter? Bitter is very, very good for a person. Now look at this. V'hagefen yiten pirya. We mentioned this yesterday. The grapes will give forth their fruits, but v'yayin b'yoker. But the food will be expensive. There will be no shortage of amount of food, but there will be tremendous inflation. Everything's going to be expensive. How expensive is gas now in the United States? How expensive is buying a loaf of bread? I understand things are much more expensive. Is that correct? How much is rent? What did Yoshi say to us yesterday? To get a schnitzel somewhere was like almost $20.
Yeah.
Everything is expensive. Restaurants are having a hard time staying open. I heard restaurant prices, they're forcing to raise their prices because just the produce, everything costs so much. But I thought we have tons of food growing. I thought with technology, everything is, we can produce so much more. Weren't those the promises that they made us? It seems that we might have more in amount, but in nutrition we're lacking. The food, we're overfed and undernourished. That's my father's line. Overfed and undernourished. We eat, but we're not nourished. Like the basketball team I told you guys about. They would go out for Mickey D's, just eat like 50 Big Mac. Like, I'm not even hungry. I'm not even full. Yeah, because you didn't put anything in your body. You didn't put anything of nutrition into the body. So we just eat, and we're not satisfied. Inflation. There will be inflation. These predictions just go on. V'nefcha kol hamalchus leminis. I want to be nuanced how we explain this. All the kingdoms. The Gemara doesn't say v'nefcha malchus or nefcha some of the malchus. All the malchus, the global malchus, will turn to minas. Minas means against God. It will be a global approach against God. Rashi here says some very interesting things. Rashi was censored. All the kingdoms will turn to Minas.
Rashi says that, or the Gemara? Rashi.
That's the Gemara. All the Malchus, all government
And Rashi?
in the world will turn to Minas, and Rashi adds it will turn to worship of something not good, the other side.
He didn't.
And I censored that.
He's not specific of what?
He's censored, what do you mean?
The Gemara was censored. Different parts of the Gemara and different parts of Rashi and other Rishonim were censored because they said things that were real. So we put them all back in the Gemara. But that was a censored element. Minas can be understood just as God denial. But then there's an opposite. Not only is it God denial, but it's the worship of something else. God denial is like, yeah, I don't, there's no God, but is there anything else? No, just eat, drink, and be merry. I don't worship anything else. And then there's something else called worship of the other. It's That's what Rashi added. That was taken out and put back in. In the end of days, all the censored Gemaras we have them on the sides. So our generation could be privy to really know the real story. But the real story has to be told. And we're so in need of the real story, not to be lied to anymore. We have to know really what's going on. And the world has to know the truth. The world has to know the truth. And the Gemara says, "Ve'ein teichecha," and there won't be people that are actually going to tell you to stop doing what you're doing. People will be too PC. Everything's okay. You're okay. It's all fine. No, certain things are not okay. Certain things are not okay. To tell a 5-year-old boy that he's not a boy, that's not okay. You can't tell him that. That's harming him. He's a boy. He has the biological signs. And people will say, no, you can't tell him that. In the end of the days, no one's going to be reprimanding and saying there's certain things that are not okay to do. And we have to stop doing them. But in the end of days, people won't speak that way. So the Gemara goes on. Misayeh leil Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, ein ben dad ba ad shetishaper kol hamalchus laminas. He is making sure the whole world knows that. Now, and he brings an amazing proof to this. Amar Rav, a Mikra. There's a verse. Anybody know about Saras? Saras, the Negarat. Saras is it's not leprosy, but it's a type of spiritual leprosy, let's say, that a person gets for speaking Lashon Hara, evil speech. That's why it was such a powerful thing in the times of the temple, that if a person said evil speech, he first would see leprosy on his house. It was a spiritual phenomenon. It'd be a warning. Don't mess around. Don't mess around. Don't say evil speech against people. Be very careful. If he kept doing it, it would go onto his clothing, and then it would go onto his body, right? And then he would have to go outside the camp. It was a whole ordeal. Don't mess around with saying evil speech. It's the most severe thing in the Torah. Use your words for good. Use your words for positive building of human beings. But there's an interesting halacha that if the section, the lesion, is white, but it has some other color in it, it's impure. But if the lesion is completely white, the whole body, then you're pure. Interesting, right? If there's impure, but there's also some non-white part, you're impure. But if the whole thing becomes white, i.e. impure, then you're actually pure. So in the end of days, Rav is saying, everything is going to become impure, and it's going to be pure. See, it's going to take over completely. Kol malchus sheba'olam. It's going to be a global movement of bad, and at that last moment that everything is impure, it's going to be pure. King David's going to come. It's like the whole thing is, and then it flips at that last second. Kuloi hafach lavan tahor. That's like the pasuk says. When everything is totally white, he becomes tahor. Rabbi Yisai, these are just the beginning of the predictions. We're going to have 1 to 2 more classes just to finish this Gemara. You're going to see wondrous things about crypto in this next Gemara here, and about the state of the world. We should be zeicha to read the writing on the wall. And like we mentioned, eternity is a long time. Invest wisely in Torah and mitzvahs. We should be zeicha to Mashiach. Amen. Wonderful day.